Good morning, YouTubers. T-Square here with T-Square Talk. Hope everybody's having a great morning. Got a great video planned out for you guys today. Today, I'm going to be talking about how every single little piece of silver, 90% sterling, 999, it doesn't matter. Every single little piece you can get your hands on is going to make a huge difference for you and your family in the future. I'm going to start off a little bit talking about how I feel like I don't know what the proper terminology is. I guess a junkie. That would be the politically correct way to say it. I feel like a junkie right now. Why? Because I ended up spending probably the last, 48 hours, it seems like, doing nothing but scraping up every little penny that I could find in my vehicles, in my house. I had not a bucket of change, but a big old jar of change sitting on my counter. I would just throw it up there. I'd also throw some change on my nightstand, and it just piles up there until one day I kind of clean it out. And today was that day. Why? Because I had an offer come up to sell me some junk silver. The guy said, look, I'll give you 11 silver dimes for $30. Or I would give you 3 silver quarters for $20. He said that's about $7 a piece. That's about $3 a piece. And so I said, well, how many you got? He said, I got more than you probably will buy. And I said, okay, well, let me see if I can put some money together. I went on Saturday thinking that claim was maybe a little bit BS. And sure enough, it was not BS. I actually picked up a little bit on Friday. I picked up some more on Saturday. And then I scraped up as much money as I could, even though I was broke yesterday, and literally collecting every little bit. And so we're going to talk today about why someone might do that. Not just the fact that they've got a problem and they just are addicted to silver, but also because they realize where silver is going, how much silver is, and how many of you think the minimum wage in this country is less than a quarter an hour. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about a couple different periods of U.S. history, which I think is going to make a lot of sense. And it's going to point us to the direction that if we reset the system, how we could be back in that time period. And people think, nah, that can never happen. But I don't think people even realize that there was a time when people were getting literally 10 cents a day to work, or there was another period in U.S. history where people would get a quarter minimum wage, and both of which are actually more than, well, one of which is more than what we have today. We're going to show you guys the numbers on that. Most people may not even know what the minimum wage is in this country. I had to actually look it up. I was like, I wonder what the minimum wage is right now. And the minimum wage right now in this country is $7.25. So who would rather have a silver quarter, or would you rather have $7.25? Well, I can tell you today, like I said, I picked up 3 silver quarters at $20. That was the ratio. I didn't just pick up 3. I picked up a bunch of them. But needless to say, at 3 for $20, that's actually, it should come out at $7 a piece. It would come out to, I don't even know what that comes out to. Let me look. Let's see here. I got to actually, I think it's 6. Ooh, I think it might be 666. Let me look here real quick. 20 divided by 3. 666. Yep, that's not a good number. But think about that. $6.66 minimum wage. There was a time when people were getting paid that. And now they're getting actually $7.25 in paper currency, but who even knows what a silver quarter costs right now? So before I get too much into all this, and I'm going to show you guys all the numbers here in a little bit, take a quick minute, hit that thumbs up button for me, leave me a comment, let me know your thoughts if you have something, or you can wait a little bit and then leave the comment. But I love seeing y'all's comments, and if you're not subscribed, please do the ultimate. We are trying to grow the channel. I do videos every Monday through Friday. I'm on the fence of bringing them back on Saturday and Sunday. I was about to say I do videos every day because I did last week. But that was from a mistake. So I kind of did a Saturday and Sunday videos too. If you didn't check those out, they did have a little bit lower views, but check them out. It was basically everybody's questions all answered in 2 videos, a Saturday video and a Sunday video. So a lot of good information in those 2 videos. And jumping in real quick, well, let's take a look at what silver's at right now. So silver right now is at 52.11, and a lot of people seen that beat down. We saw a beat down on Friday, drop 5%. I figured picking up silver right now with a 5% drop on Friday, and then on top of that getting it under spot, I had to get as much as I could, because I really believe that every little silver dime that you pick up, every little piece of silver is going to make a big difference down the road. And I think some people know it's coming, but some people are still in denial that it's going to happen. Even on the U.S. debt clock right now, there is a secret window that I actually pulled up. It says the New World Promise. And it says money will cease to be the master and become the servant of humanity. So that really makes me wonder if there is some big changes coming. Whenever they put these secret windows up, sometimes a lot of speculation goes out there. They start looking at the hidden, little hidden messages in here, kind of, in the photos and stuff. And when you think about, all of this, you start really thinking. I mean, you look at just the photo, you got a silver coin, you got a gold coin, you got Kennedy, you've got what looks like some sort of a gold paper currency, possibly exchangeable for gold. I had someone ask me one day, they're like, well, even if we do paper and it's convertible into gold, that doesn't make it any better. And in a way that's right, in a way it's wrong. Because, if you have money that is gold and silver, you have wealth. You have wealth. But even if they hold the gold and silver and they allow you to bring in that piece of paper when you earn it and exchange it for a physical ounce of silver, a physical ounce of gold, personally, I'm okay with that. It gives people the option. And it really does semi-limit what people can do. As in what people can, how much money they can print, what governments can do, I should say. I know some people will say, well, we've tried that before. But, we tried that, but at a certain point when people realized that they were overprinting, they ended up pushing and back, and they wanted their gold, their silver, they wanted their silver, and they exchanged it for that. And so what actually happened was they had to stop the actual exchange. You could no longer exchange your notes for gold or silver. A lot of people have probably seen silver certificates. I don't think many people that I've talked to, I've never seen a gold certificate. I know they exist, but I personally have never seen one. That's why I was a little hesitant to say gold. But I know they exist because too many people have seen them. I don't even think I've ever even seen one on eBay or a website or whatever. But people don't realize that if the system was to reset today, what kind of impact would that have? A little piece of silver in your possession. If all of a sudden all your money was zeroed out, reset, you had to start over. Can you imagine the guy that has a few silver quarters? He's starting over with something. Some silver dimes. He's starting over with something. He's bringing something in to the new system. Now, we don't know when the financial reset's going to happen. Nobody knows for sure what's going on, because when they eventually reset the system, they're giving up control of the old system. Essentially, it's sad to say that. We've been on top for a long time, and once it's over, it's over. I heard someone say today, it's hard to predict the end of anything, the end of a currency. He says, why? Because when you make that prediction, you will be right one time. You will be wrong every other time. Literally, because it's only going to happen once. And the odds of it happening in someone's lifetime is slim. A lot of us, I believe, are going to be, you might say lucky to see it. You might say unlucky to see it. It depends. If you're in the stacking community, I believe you'll be lucky to see it. Why? Because you've been preparing for that. You realize this is coming. There is a reset coming. It's just a matter of when it's going to come. And here's the thing. They can't keep kicking this can down the road forever. We don't even have our government open right now. Our government's shut down. And yet you look at the national debt clock and it's still climbing. It's just getting further and further and further, harder and harder to pay. Now, will they eventually open the government back up? To me, it's ridiculous that you can have a government of the world's, I'm going to say the superpower of the world, shut down. Our government's just shut down. It's crazy to think that. It really is. It's crazy to think that the country that holds the world reserve currency is shut down. And we can't even pay our bills. Maybe that's because of bickering in the government, but I mean, it doesn't really matter why. It just matters that it's happening. And a lot of people don't understand that every little piece of silver that you get is going to make a big difference. It doesn't look good for us. Let's take a quick look. Everybody should know what junk silver is, but I like to show the picture of it for people that might be new to what's going on. There's a lot of different types of junk silver. There's, Roosevelt dimes before 64. There's Mercury dimes. There's Barber dimes. There's seated Liberty dimes. And the same thing applies for quarters. You've got Washington quarters. You've got, what was before Washington? Let's see. Maybe Standing Liberties? I don't know what was before Washington quarter. Probably Standing Liberties and then Barbara quarters. Maybe a seated Liberty quarter. I don't know. We had Walking Liberties. We had Benjamin Franklin's. We had 64 silver Kennedys. So there's a lot of silver junk out there, junk silver coins. And, I've said this story time and time again about the movie with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, Far, Far and Away, I think it was called, where they get married and they come to the United States. And, she comes from a wealthy background. Her family's wealthy. She brings a full set of silverware. And he basically brings skills that he has. And, they don't have much. He goes to start prize fighting. He knows how to fight. He decides he wants to start fighting. And he does it for a small amount of money. And she goes to work plucking chickens for a whole day for 1 silver dime. Now, I want you to think about that for a quick minute. Working all day for a silver dime. A lot of people don't know even what a silver dime is worth right now. During that time period, they were probably using like Barber dimes. A Barber dime right now is $3.76. But it really doesn't matter if it's a Barber dime, a Mercury dime, or a Roosevelt dime. You're talking $3.76. So right there, when you understand this, you understand that silver is money. And it always has been. And right now we live in a fake world where people don't understand what real money is. They think paper is money. I had a comment yesterday. It basically said, stop using the word money. It's not money. It's paper. Use the word money when you're talking about gold and silver. And that's a right comment. But unfortunately, the majority of the world don't understand that. And it's too hard. It's hard enough to educate someone about silver. Especially if you've got a Washington quarter from 1964, they don't understand how that quarter could be worth $9. And so trying to explain that to them is hard enough, let alone trying to explain the difference between fiat paper currency versus actual silver and gold as money. I mean, the definition of money, it has to be a store of wealth. If they can mass produce it, it's not a store of wealth. The more money is in the system, the less it is worth by nature. I mean, if we were paying with grains of sand, you would need a lot of sand to go buy a new car. If you're paying with paper, you need a lot of paper dollars to go buy a new car. If you're paying in ounces of gold, you don't really need that many. And once people understand that, and here's the thing, There was a time when a $20 gold eagle was $20. They convinced people to take a piece of paper that said $20 instead of that heavy gold coin. And a lot of people took it. They took it by force, kind of. And I say kind of because, they passed a law and they asked everybody to turn their gold in. But at the time, everybody had gold. It's not like today. I'm not convinced they would ever really pass that kind of a law, because just in making that rule, you're essentially admitting that gold is money. If you try to take the gold and the silver, you're admitting gold and silver is money. Do you think they want to admit that? No, because not many people even acknowledge that. We, the people that follow this channel, are the tinfoil hats. We're the nut jobs. We're the outliers. I do think maybe a time will come where people will learn that lesson the hard way, but they don't want you to learn that lesson until they have the majority of it. Now, back then, that wasn't the case. Old-timers that used gold and silver as money, they knew gold and silver was money. They understood that. But the law kind of pushed them over the edge to, okay, we'll turn it in. It's the same thing. And it wasn't even that they took everybody's gold and essentially their gold. They did take their silver, but in a different way. We'll get to that in just a second. It wasn't that they just took their gold. It was that they took their gold and then they revalued it at a higher value months after they had it all. And then they revalued it. They didn't want to revalue it before, even though it already had value. Just like today, I'm convinced silver has more value than what we're being told. We're being told right now that silver is $52 an ounce. I'm convinced that it's a lot higher than that. I mean, everything that I do mathematically points to higher priced silver and higher priced gold. But the silver is where the big manipulation is. When you have millions, Friday, there's rumors speculating over 1 billion ounces of silver got shorted on Friday as they drove the price down from $54.60 all the way down to $50.50. Think about that, a $4.10 drop. Now, what happened later in the day, obviously people recognized that was too cheap. Somebody did, and buying started. And they were buying, and they were buying. They were picking it up. I think we're going to see another jump some point this week. I think we'll be right back at the $54 level, not too far. Now, part of me thinks it could even happen today, Monday. But there's a possibility we may not see it right off, because there's also a Fed meeting coming up in about a week. That Fed meeting, they're probably going to have to cut interest rates. There's a lot of trouble in the economy. They're saying there's problems now, but we'll see how bad they really are. We don't get the numbers right now because the government's shut down. So no numbers are being put out. We don't know how bad the unemployment is. We don't know how bad the layoffs are. We don't know how bad stuff really is because nobody's there to do the numbers. Now, even if they were putting out numbers, I don't believe half their numbers they put out anyway. But there's no real way to know 100%. You can't personally go out there and check everything. So there's a lot of questions in it. Moving on to back over to what a silver quarter, what a silver half dollar. I'm just going to read some prices to you right now because some of these numbers are off the charts. I actually laughed at someone today. It blew my mind when he said he had some 40% half dollars. He said he wanted $5 a piece. And I said, what? No way you're going to get $5 a piece. And I looked at this site and I was like, what? $7.70? We're up to $7.70 for a 40% half dollar. I mean, the numbers are really climbing. A 35% war nickel. How many of y'all remember when these were just dollars? Now they're $3. They're $2.93. A silver dime. We just talked about that. That's $3.76. A Barbara quarter or a Washington quarter. So I picked up 3 today on a scale of 3 for $20. That comes out to $6.66. However, an actual silver quarter melt value right this minute, this is mind-blowing. $9.42. Scrolling down, a $0.50. I picked up a few of these $0.50 at $15 a piece, maybe a little high. I actually ended up questioning a couple things after and ended up getting a little bit of a better deal than $15, but $18.84 for a silver $0.50. That's how much silver is in it. Coming down a 40%. We just talked about that. The 40% $0.50, $7.70. A Morgan dollar. Think about that for a minute. So a Morgan dollar, I still like that I traded whenever I got Morgan dollars or I was given the opportunity to get a Morgan dollar. I tended to trade them where I could for an ounce of silver. I would rather have a generic ounce of silver than a Morgan dollar. Some people would prefer the Morgan dollar, but now looking at it, a generic ounce of silver is $52. A Morgan dollar is $40.30. An Eisenhower, 40% Eisenhower dollar, $16.50. A Silver Eagle, $52. So we're seeing the prices of silver go even higher. The next thing I want to take a look at is what we were just talking about on the minimum wage. Did I have the other one? Hold on here. Boom. Boom. Okay, we're going to come back to that one in just a minute. So we talked a little bit about the minimum wage now. Minimum wage, about $7.25. So when I was mentioning a minute ago, $7.25 is roughly 2 dimes. However, when you look at the minimum wage way back, so I want to read some of this AI stuff to you real quick. A worker in the United States, because I was wondering, was there a time, I vaguely remember there was a time when people worked for a dime a day, maybe it was a dime an hour, and I wasn't 100% sure, and so AI pulled all this stuff for me. It says, a worker in the United States would have earned roughly a silver dime for a full day's labor around the turn of the 20th century. Receiving that same amount for just 1 hour's work is an indication of an extraordinarily high wage. And there's no historical period in the United States when this was the standard. So it was a silver dime for a day's wage. Think of that, a silver dime. Can you imagine working a whole day for essentially just under $4? There was a time when that was the case. And here's the thing. Who would work a whole day for $4? Nobody. Let's be honest. But what would happen if silver was to skyrocket, or we were to revalue silver to a fair price? What would a fair price be for a quick second? So $4 a day. How many people would work for $4 a day? Ask yourself that first. I wouldn't touch that. You would not get me to work 8 hours for $4. But the next question I wondered is, what would happen if someone said, would you work for me for the day for $40? I'll give you $40 to come over and, I don't know, do whatever. I probably wouldn't do $40 for a whole day. But if someone said $80 for a day, now I might take $80 for a day. I mean, I know that's still low. It's not crazy. I mean, someone said, hey, I'll give you $80, come over and, I don't know, take care of some firewood for me or do something. I might do it for $80. So $4 to $80, that's like 20x. Where would that put silver if we had 20x? That's what I want you to think about for a minute. In order for the quarter to go up 20x, in order for all that stuff to go up 20x, we would need $52 to go up by 20x. That would put us over $1,000. Is that crazy? I mean, I've said time and time again, I think some of these claims of $1,000 silver, $2,000 silver are crazy. I mean, do I think it's possible? Probably not in a lot of our lifetimes, but I got to be realistic on that. I did do some math one day, and I did a video on how someone said $700 silver, and I said it could happen, but you would need a lot of what-ifs to happen first. One, you would need the actual gold to get revalued to a higher price. Two, you would need silver to go back to a 10 to 1, 12 to 1 price ratio, which means if gold got revalued to $12,000, then silver at 12 to 1 would be $1,000. And I did a video where I laid out, because when I seen someone's claim to that, I had to see if that all checked out. And I said, there's a lot of what ifs there, though. Could all those what ifs happen? I mean, is it impossible? I won't say no, but I mean, it's a lot of what ifs. When you need more things to happen, like a trifecta ticket on a horse race, the probability of it coming, it gets harder. I know someone that places bets on one of these betting sites, sports bets, and he's got to pick 3 players that are going to score more or less than the set amount of points that they deem. And all you got to do is just say over or under. That's it. And that's one pick. But he has to get 3 right in order to get paid. And so the more you factor in, the harder it gets. And I seen him actually, he got an 8 pick right one day, which was pretty crazy because he got something like, I don't know, like $4,000 for it. But he called 8 things accurate. I said, man, that's crazy. I want to continue reading this. A day's wage for a silver dime in 1890s to the 1910s, while a day's wage of 10 cents would have been extremely low during this period. Now, I've got to say, that's for unskilled workers. If you're plucking chickens or sweeping floors or whatever the case may be, usually it's work that produces something because they didn't have what we have today. You know, I was an electrician, and I was also an electrician inspector. So 2 people would check over that a light works, and they would check the wiring on the light. They'd make sure the switch is set up right. And then they would check the whole circuit, make sure it's done right. And then after they've signed off on it, I would get that packet. And I would walk this down. And I would check it. And I'd sign off on it. And then I'd pass it up to someone. And I don't know. I don't think that guy really walked it down. He just kind of took the word of the 3 people. For me, he knew that I was a little meticulous. And I was not going to let something slide if it didn't jive with what the customer wanted. But in general, how many people rework stuff? Back then, that wasn't the case. Work was work. Today, work can be sitting at a desk playing solitaire for half the day, waiting for someone to come in and ask you a question. Continuing on, it would not have been unheard of, especially for unskilled laborers in a certain industries or regions. Average daily pay in the 1900s, the average wage, the average annual wage, it says, was $438. So, which breaks down to a little over $1.40 for an 8-hour day. However, like I said, there was a time period where unskilled workers got that. And so maybe for skilled workers, they got a little bit more. However, many workers earn less than the average, particularly in agriculture, factory work, or jobs with long hours. Ooh, long hours. Damn, I can't imagine that. So that would even make it worse. If you had to do like a 10-hour day and got paid $1.40, that actually even comes out less when you think about it. The living wage movement. At the time, social reforms were advocating for living wage to counteract the low pay with the forced people into poverty. The movement arose in response to prevalence and sweatshops that paid a non-living wage. One thing I want you to take, since they just brought up sweatshops, I want you to think about a $4 silver dime for a quick minute. There are places right now where $4, if you're making $4 in a day, you're doing good. I'll tell you this because I looked into moving to the Philippines. And if someone in the Philippines is making, I seen you can hire a maid literally for $2 a day. They come in, they clean your house, they cook your food, they wash the dishes you eat. Maybe they don't stay there too late. I figure if it was me, I'd be like, yeah, make sure there's a dinner. I can heat it up in the microwave, and that's good enough. And then you can head out. And who knows, me being a bachelor type person, I don't know how many times I'll just go over to the fridge, pull something out, and eat it cold. I actually got pizza in there from earlier today, and I may eat a couple slices of pizza here in a little bit and just eat it cold. So you think about that. People are willing to work for $2 a day in a lot of parts of the world. And here in the United States, I don't want to say we're spoiled, because some people don't believe that we're spoiled. Oh, we ain't spoiled. I work my butt off, multiple jobs just to make ends meet. But what they don't tell you is, how much do you owe on a credit card? How much of your pay are you putting to the interest on the money that you owe? It's not recommended to borrow money. I mean, honestly, the banks are probably worse than the mafia. Literally. I mean, yeah, I guess you can bankrupt, whereas if you try to do that to the mafia, that's not going to go the right way. But a lot of people just don't understand how things really are. They don't even understand where all their money's going. If we did a reset and all your bills went to zero, all your money went to zero, how many people do you think would complain? You think the majority of the people would complain? I'm convinced the majority of the people would give up what they have to clear out what they owe. And if the majority of the people are fine with that, then that means the minority of people would probably have a problem with that, because they have saved. If you've had a nice company, you've worked all your life, you saved, now you're retired, and now your currency, what you've saved up, goes to zero, you would be pretty ticked. Why? Because you can't actually work anymore. They would probably institute maybe something to still take care of the elderly. But I don't know. I'm not even 100% convinced with that. They may just say, hey, it's your kid's responsibility to take care of you now. A lot of people would be left out in the cold. And I don't think people understand how ugly this would get. I do believe there is a financial reset coming. That's why when I strive to get every little silver dime I can get, I have one of my friends, why do you even worry about that, dude? Like a silver dime or a silver quarter is going to really matter. It did to these people. It did to these people, the people that were willing to work for a whole day for a silver dime. How many people would like to have Monday off, Tuesday off, one day? How many people would like to be on a 4-day work week? Put away a little bit of silver dimes, and if they reset the system, you'll only have to, you just use one silver dime to offset your money. You take a 4-day work week. People don't realize. Now, imagine if you owe a bunch of money, but you put up some silver, and they did a reset, and your debt goes to zero. Your bank account goes to zero, but you've got a little bit of silver put away because you had the foresight to try to save a little something for the new system. You know that saying, you're going to own, by 2030, you're going to own nothing. A lot of people don't realize that if something like that happens, what's it going to be like? You had the opportunity. How are you going to feel knowing that you had the opportunity to pick up a little bit of silver at $52 and you turned it down? You turned it down. You thought $52 was too high. You thought we were going to see a repeat of what happened in 1980. You take a look at the 1980 chart or even the 2011 chart. Let's pull it up real quick. Look at this. We didn't have a slow climb. We had a rocket ship climb where literally September 79 to January or March, all the profits came in. You went up like 10x. Think about that. We're talking a short period of time for that. We're nowhere near there now. We're having a slow climb. It's a grind. Did we have a nice jump here? Yes. I'm convinced this jump was just the beginning. It was the big money buying in. And now that the big money is positioned in it, we're sitting at $52. And who's selling? It ain't the big money. Big money ain't Elon Musk. You think he's selling? You think Warren Buffett is selling? You think the people that run stuff, the elites of the world, do you really think they're selling? They're acquiring. The people that are selling are the people that are sitting on some silverware. They're sitting on a little bit of silver. Maybe they bought at 15, 20, maybe even 25. I know a guy that bought at 29 and sold at 39. He's got to be looking at these prices right now saying, damn, did I sell early? But we'll see. I'm not even convinced. I'm convinced he was early. I'm still convinced we are still early at 52. I think this price is going to go huge. Some people like to look at that cup and handle formation, and they're like, look at how many years it was. You're talking, even if you look at the cup formation here, you're talking 14 years. But some people are looking at a double cup formation, and they're like, who knows what this could go up to? This could skyrocket. And I think it will. I think as it climbs, though, there will be more and more people that will want to give up their position. I mean, $100 silver, you might tempt me to sell a little bit. I probably wouldn't be buying at $100, but you know what? There's a lot of people out there that will be getting hit with inflation hard, and they'll want to buy. They're not going to care. What would I rather have? A bunch of worthless paper that's losing value by the day, or some sound money? Think about that for just a minute. What would you rather have? And we're seeing it climb now faster and faster. Why are we seeing it climb faster and faster? Well, we're seeing it climb faster and faster because people are starting to realize the currencies in this country, and really every fiat currency in the world, are burned. It's just a matter of time. And a lot of people can't afford. There are a lot of people out there, I hate to say that, that can't afford even $52 for an ounce. They've got to pick up what they can. I was talking to someone the other day. He said he likes fractional silver. It was in the comments. He said, I like 90% silver dimes, silver quarters. Why? Because eventually silver will be like an ounce of gold. You won't be able to afford a 10-ounce bar of silver. You won't be able to afford a 5-ounce bar of silver. I mean, what does it have to go to, though? Think about a kilo of silver for a quick minute. A lot of people can't afford a kilo right now. A kilo of silver is $1,700 roughly. A 10-ounce bar right now, you're talking $520 if you're getting it at spot price, which that's tough. I mean, you might pick it up at $530, $535, but who knows? A lot of people can't afford that. Try to tell your wife, hey, I'm buying, or your husband, I'm buying a 10-ounce bar of silver. She holds it in her hand and be like, what? You spent $500 on this? A paperweight? Because people don't understand. But the time is coming, and they're going to understand soon. You know, taking a quick look, real quick, let's take a look at, okay, so we already looked at silver. Let's take a quick look at assets based by market capitalization. I really like this chart because it gives a good breakdown of what the top assets are. We have gold, obviously, number one. I've said time and time again, I don't see gold getting taken out by anything. But then we have NVIDIA, which a lot of people are saying there's a lot of profits that have been made in NVIDIA. And maybe it's wise for people to cash out some of these profits and put it in something real. They say Bitcoin or gold or silver. I would say silver, personally. But this ain't financial advice. I'm just telling you my opinion. After NVIDIA, we have Microsoft in third, Apple in fourth, Google in fifth, and then we got silver in sixth. And silver right now should be fifth. Don't get me wrong. But I understand they've got it at 6 because of the price they're using. They're using $50.82. That's the futures price. I don't want to say the paper price, but that's the futures contract price. They should be using $52, but they're not. So, but that's water under the bridge. We'll see. I don't really care what this says. I don't really care what anything says. The only thing I care about is how many ounces do I acquire? How many little silver dimes can I get my hands on? When stuff gets crazy, that's it. You've either missed out on the boat or else. And there's a lot of people, like I said, that are selling right now. We'll see how this is going to play out. It's going to be interesting. Amazon right now sitting in 7th, Bitcoin in 8th. But Bitcoin right now, showing 108,720. It has taken a pretty good hit, and we'll see how this will play out. We've already talked about the national debt. We talked about the hidden window that just got added to it. I don't want to be a slave to money. Money will cease to be master and become the servant of humanity. Don't let money control you. You control money. But you can't do that if you're using fiat, if you're using paper. Because the paper, you can't control paper because they control it. The more they print, the less it's worth. But when it comes to gold and silver, you can control that. Once it's in your possession, you own it. You hold it. It's going up in value. The more they print, the more it's worth. So you have to ask yourself, do you think they're going to print more fiat dollars, or do you think they're going to, hey, let's start cutting down on the money supply and we'll start destroying it? No, they're going to print more. And that's it. It's just going to keep going and going. Taking a quick look at the DXY chart, you know, everybody, I talk about this all the time. We're sitting at 98.45. And yes, it came down a tiny little bit, not even enough to really register as down, 0.02. So basically, you know, you look at that, that's not much of a drop. But the thing is, it's not as good as they're making it out to be. It's fiat currency. It's just based against other fiat currencies, and they're all falling in value. So which one's falling the slowest, obviously, will look the best. But I'm convinced we're going to see some crazy stuff. And I love this gold-silver chart, gold-silver ratio. Some people don't like this. They think this is unjustified way to look at pricing and stuff. Personally, I like looking at the gold-silver ratio. I actually know a guy, he traded yesterday a 1/10 ounce beautiful gold eagle, and he got a 10-ounce bar of silver. Not a pretty one. The guy said he would rather have the gold because he thinks gold is going to do better. When I look at this chart, I just see silver has more opportunity. This is probably going to come down, and when it does, he might be able to trade that at when it goes to 50 to 1. He might be able to trade, I don't know, that 10-ounce bar for two 1/10 ounce bars of two 1/10 ounce silver gold coins. But people are fixated right now on gold. More people want gold. It's a tiny little bit. Gold is the publicized asset. Everybody wants to talk about gold. Why don't they want to talk about silver? Think about that for a quick minute. Why is it now we're hearing more and more talk about gold? Because they don't want you to come up with your own conclusion. They want to come up with the conclusion for you. They want you to buy gold. If you're going to decide to buy metals in your portfolio, do you think they want you invested in silver, or do you think they want you invested in gold? They want you invested in gold. Why? Because I don't think it's going to do as well in the upcoming bull run that we're about ready to hit. If you invest in silver, you know, what do you think they're doing? They already bought gold. They rode gold up. Now I believe they're going to start trying to slowly filter into silver more. Yes, gold is better than paper. So ain't silver. But I think if you put the two side by side, I think silver is better than gold. But that's going to be each individual's opinion. And this is not financial advice, nor should it be considered as such. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Let me take a quick look here. 43 minutes. I do ask that you hit that thumbs up button now if you're still here. Leave me a comment if you want, even if it's something quick like good morning. I appreciate it. Any kind of little comment helps out the algorithm. That's why we always mention it. And do the ultimate thing. Hit that subscribe button. If you made it this far, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. If you're lucky enough and you have the hype, you're one of a few. Hit that hype button. Very few of you. I would be shocked if even 2 of you that watch this video have the hype button right now. It is a feature that is being launched in other countries. It's going to roll out here in the United States. It's already being tested. Basically, to see if you have the hype button, you see where the thumbs up and the thumbs down is below the video. You can actually click on the thumbs up, and then you can slide that bar over, and as you scroll over, you'll see different things. One of them will say hype. And if you have the hype button, please hit that hype for me. It really helps me out. I can't thank you all enough for watching this video, and leave me a comment and hit that subscribe, thumbs up, and I'll see y'all again tomorrow on T-Square Talk. I hope you all have a great day and a great week. It's going to be an exciting one, so take care, everybody. Have a good one. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.